I sent something to you. I've seen it.
This is your man, special one.
You are here, right?
Just down the road there, the new block. Beautiful. Not even the money for the overhead, the gems, money that they give me.
Driving. Yeah, this guy now he can walk as na police. Who drive this motor now?
His Excellency the Governor of Edo State, Right Honorable Speaker, Edo State House of Assembly, Honorable lost the sitting judges of Edo State High Court. My loss is Mr. Sargon Ogi, the head of service to the state governments, various branches of the Nigerian Bar Association here present, of the bar, their worshipful magistrates. We are gathered here today by the grace of God for the official commissioning. At this point in time, I want to, with due respect, call
of Edo State, staff of Edo State Judiciary. This is a welcome address by me on the occasion of the handing over of this ultra-modern High Court building on today, the 3rd of February 2021. It is not the commissioning. His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Edo State, has informed me that the proper commissioning will be done by the Chief Justice of Nigeria at the appropriate time. So on behalf of judges of Edo State's judiciary and stakeholders of the justice sector, I am immensely elated to make these remarks at this epochal official handing over of this magnificent brand new world-class ultra-modern High Court complex. On this very auspicious occasion, I would like to specially welcome with an avalanche of gratitude the Governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, and his formidable team, the brains behind this magnificent edifice and citadel of justice to this gathering of immense historical significance. I recall that sometimes in December 2018, Your Excellency unveiled his avowed and glorious plan to reposition Edo State as the judicial hub in the South-South region. On a similar note, on the recent occasion of the swearing-in of 8 High Court judges of Edo State Judiciary, Your Excellency declared, and I quote, that for us to have a virile democracy, we must strengthen the rule of law, making sure that the judiciary is one of the strongest arms of our democracy in Nigeria. This morning, we are a step further in fulfilling our desire to make Edo State one of the strongest hubs in Nigeria. Our dream of making Edo State an economic hub will not be realized if our laws are not strong, unquote. I cannot agree more. The above resolve and determination has undoubtedly driven Your Excellency's conception and infrastructural development of what I have come to refer to as the Trinity Projects for Edo State Judiciary. The Trinity Project I refer to are: 1, the construction and completion of this building, which His Excellency is handing over to us today, the judges' quarters at Agwaba Simi Crescent, and the massive renovation of the old High Court complex building. In all of these, what is particularly gratifying to me is the passion Your Excellency has deployed in ensuring that this dream is actualized, or is being actualized, even in the face of the daunting economic downturn brought about by the global COVID-19 pandemic and perennial competing demands for scarce economic resources by all sectors. On a day such as this, it is imperative to once again reiterate the significance of the judiciary as a bastion of our nation's democracy and the last hope of the provincial common man. Undoubtedly, as we travel along the path of executing this avowed civil and constitutional rule, the stability, quality, and well-being of our democratic march shall invariably be determined by the degree of importance and seriousness our society attaches to the judiciary. A strong and truly independent judiciary is in the best interest of all of us. It is indeed the best legacy we can all bequeath to our children and generations yet unborn. As we bask in the euphoria of today's epochal event, I wish to underscore the point that the essence, purpose of the law and relevance of the justice delivery system in every society is measured by its accessibility, affordability, and availability to the public at all times. Law cannot be said to be enforced when the infrastructure of facilities that anchor its functionality is grossly inadequate or unavailable. Therefore, the existence and the efficacy of the law, and by extension, justice, are contingent on the existence of structures for any system that administers it, dispense justice, and midwife orderliness in the society. One of the sure parameters with which this shall be measured is the provision of adequate modern infrastructural facilities for the judiciary, which includes the provision of adequate welfare, standard residential quarters, conducive or congenial work environments, official vehicles for all categories of judicial officers, and indeed staff of the judiciary, as well as more courtrooms with standard ICT facilities. In doing so, we must also accord high premium to the provision of adequate funding for the day-to-day running of the judiciary. In this regard, I once again appeal to Your Excellency to urgently review upward funds allocated to the judiciary, comprising the High Court, Judicial Service Commission, and the multi-door courthouse as monthly overheads. Interestingly, Section 17, subsection 2E of the 1999 Constitution provides that, and I quote, "The independence, impartiality, and integrity of courts of law and easy accessibility thereto shall be secured and maintained," unquote. The successful execution and handing over of this project speaks directly to the constitutional pillars of democracy. Without adequate funding, ultra-modern courtrooms, and all necessary work paraphernalia, not only will justice be inaccessible to justice seekers who strive from its fountain, at the same time, our hopes and aspirations for justice for all will effectively continue to be a mirage. This is why, under my watch, Your Excellency, Edo State Judiciary has continued to promote and uphold its independence, impartiality, and integrity. Today, as we celebrate on this auspicious occasion, it may be small to you, but it is big to me. I'm also very pleased to report that as I speak, this edifice and indeed the entire Edo State High Court complex has now been connected to the Osiomo power grid with uninterrupted power supply. For this, we also thank Your Excellency for this gesture, even as we urge you to extend this passion that has made all of this possible to other pending their areas of needs of the Edo State Judiciary. Let me conclude this short address by once again expressing profound gratitude to Your Excellency, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, members of your esteemed entourage, my brother judges, all invited guests, and all present here who took time off their busy schedule to grace this historic occasion. Thank you, and God bless you all.
My Lord, the Chief Judge of Edo State, the protocol most elaborately and fully established by the Honorable Chief Judge. What he said was a joke, but it has impacted on me quite a bit. He said that when you get to a place where there is a spectacle that is indeed a spectacle, you do not look at it with your eyes, you look at it with your mouth. In other words, the mouth go wide open. And as I stand here today, my lords, and I look straight ahead of me at an 8 to 9 story building, which 3 floors of which the Minister of Justice is privileged to occupy. And I'm standing here on this hallowed ground of a new High Court complex for the judiciary of Edo State. Indeed, my mouth is agape. For the first time, I do not need to call my office in the morning to ask una deadline. For the first time, my lawyers are wearing sweaters to sit in their offices. And perhaps I must pass that as some advice to my lords, that you might consider bringing sweaters when you sit in chambers, because you're going to have 24 hours of air conditioning pouring all over you. Our judiciary, as we've always said, are jewels of inestimable value. And Mr. Governor has never shied away from recognizing the fact that we must protect, we must promote, and we must project the judiciary.
I really do not think that it is appropriate for me to say too much at this point in time. Say to thank Mr. Governor for the very obvious passion and commitment which have led to these two fortuitous structures almost facing each other, all devoted to the development of the people of Edo State. And to tell Mr. Governor that right next to my office there is Mr. Oyewo's office of the NBA. And fortunately, Mr. Governor has given me an office where I can keep a close eye on what they are up to. I want to thank you once again, Mr. Governor, for this magnificent structure, and to congratulate my Lord, the Chief Judge, and all the judges of the Edo State High Court that this is happening during your time. It is historic. It is something for which future generations will speak of. Thank you very much, and God bless Edo State.
The Governor of Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki, the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Right Honorable Philip Shuaibu, the Honorable Chief Judge of Edo State, Honorable Justice Esther Amunao Edigin, the Right Honorable Speaker of Edo State House Assembly, Honorable Marcus Honorable, judges of the Edo State Judiciary, and Lord, please permit me to adopt the protocol list already established. For us as an association which stands to advance and promote the rule of law, we are particularly glad and elated for what is happening here today. Since it is on record that since the Samuel Obenuga's administration, this is the second very powerful intervention that the Edo State Judiciary has witnessed. We also want to put on record that His Excellency's intervention has been such that when he enters or delves into an area, you hardly can tell that something is going on. You just wake up. That's hence they call it the wake and see problem. We came to court one day and we discovered that the roads around the High Court premises, which before now was not a good sight, was hard. And it is on record that this administration has actually done so well in ensuring that lawyers do not park outside the court premises or have difficulties in accessing their courts. But because so much has been done in ensuring that our roads are given a facelift, and we must say that we are grateful to His Excellency for this very wonderful intervention. This building is, to me, a very spectacular and wonderful building, and I foresee a situation where the movie stars will begin to use these premises as a place, an attraction, that is a tourist attraction for shooting their movies. And I also observe that because we have seen also in the area of energy, the ocean power, which has also been sent, of course, transmitted to this area, because like the Solicitor General had mentioned, that in Block C, which also enjoyed the intervention of His Excellency, that they now use sweater to come to work. That is also the case with the powerhouse. We are grateful to you, Your Excellency, because the powerhouse is also a beneficiary of this intervention. We must say too that while we have acknowledged the challenges still faced by the judiciary, of course, we not too long ago we appreciated the fact that His Excellency took the giant stride in swearing in 8 new judges in Edo State judiciary. That in itself is a very wonderful achievement, and I know that with the number of courtrooms that this building has, it will of course accommodate so many judges, and then of course the intervention going on in the main building, which is very clear and visible for even the client to see. We must commend Your Excellency for this intervention, and then to say too that other areas, as been outlined by the Lord Chief Judge, should be critically looked at. We fervently pray and plead to Your Excellency to consider these interventions, because of course, like you said, upon being sworn into office in your first term and even in your second term, you mentioned that the Edo State is going to be a hub for judicial activities, and that's indeed we are seeing. We must observe too that with what we are seeing, definitely we're going to have more the vista for appointments of magistrates, those of the lower bench, and then those who are in the employment of the Edo State judiciary, of course, would be looked at very critically. We observe that so many persons retired over the last few months, and then so many too passed on, and it is not in doubt that the judiciary requires so many staff, because as we speak, it is grossly understaffed. The membership of the customary courts too is one of such areas that we think Your Excellency should also look at. Having said this, we want to plead with Your Excellency to continue to do that which you know would be deserving for us as citizens and indigenous of this state. You are doing very well. We are proud of you. We pray God to give you the strength to continue to do that which God has ordained you to do. Thank you so much.
The Governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki.
Assembly, Honorable Marcus Onubun, the Solicitor General of Edo State, Chairman, Nigerian Bar Association, Edo State Branch, senior advocates who are here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I was pleasantly surprised when I walked in here to see that this place had been decorated for a ceremony. What I had in mind today when the Chief Judge spoke with me last week and reminded me yesterday was to just undertake a simple handover ceremony of this premises and this facility for the use of the judiciary. And that the official commissioning, which I had discussed briefly with the CJN, will take place at a later date. It should have happened, this January, but for the COVID pandemic we're suffering in the country. But I pray that it happens soon. So today's ceremony is actually to just hand over the keys of this property to the judiciary for use. We need a lot more courts very urgently. We need to get the High Court to move from the Agwabasimi facility in here, because we've promised the Court of Appeal that we'll look at them temporarily there while we're doing work in their permanent premises. So this is just a handover ceremony, but it's also an opportunity to just unveil our thoughts and rationale for what we're doing. As has been alluded to, for us, without the judiciary, we cannot have the democracy. It will be a democracy that's standing on two legs and therefore will not be balanced. So we've made that commitment from a point of knowledge and understanding that the judiciary is as important, as critical, if not more critical, for the sustenance of our democracy, just as the other two legs on which our democracy stands, the legislature and the executive. In our thinking, you first have to build infrastructure and then ensure that you then standardize or also upgrade what you put inside the infrastructure. So this is just the first in a series of infrastructural improvements which we are committed to working with the judiciary to undertake in Edo State. Subject to the outcomes of sessions I'm hoping that we'll have with the judiciaries, strategic sessions to have a clear understanding of what you envisage and see the judiciary in Edo State to be over the next decade. We are hoping that we'll come up with plans to build things like, circuit courts, I don't know what you call them, but more like zonal or senatorial courts like this in Auchi and Ekoma. I cannot tell you how sad I felt during my electioneering. You recall we went to all the wards in Edo State, and what I saw in some communities that were being called magistrate courts were very, very disappointing and sad structures. I mean, you could not in any seriousness call those buildings court premises. So I hope that working with the judiciary, we will have a Marshall Plan to reposition the magistracy in Edo State. I want to thank my Lord, the Chief Judge, who gave us, working with our architects, the template design for what our magistrate courts should look like, both the urban ones and the rural ones. And based on that plan, and hopefully the bigger strategic plan we'll work on with you, we should begin the rollout of that plan before the middle of this year. You talked about funding. And this has been, I won't call it a sore point, but an issue where we've gone back and forth. What I can assure you is that financially, we are very, very transparent. We will show you every kobo we earn and how we spend. Like I have always said, the challenge is not the share you get. The challenge is that the pie is still too small. We need to expand that pie so that we have enough, we have more to go around the institutions. And by the grace of God and with the support we're getting from you, establishing revenue courts, in retooling our revenue collection system, we will expand and increase significantly IGR in Edo State. And once we do that, we'll be able to put some more money into the judiciary and other institutions of state. This is not a speech-making day. We'll reserve that for the day of commissioning. It is now my singular honor and pleasure, if I can get the keys, to now formally and officially hand over the keys of this building for the use of the judiciary to the Chief Judge of Edo State, and pray and hope that this building will be used for the preservation and sustenance of justice, the service of God, humanity, and the people of Edo State. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, we can go and inspect. George, come on.
Remove the... Chico. So to social distance.
Please let's move back. Let's move back. Let's move back.